Alright guys, welcome to the next video of Anomaly sequence. Today I'm going to be going over pretty much the day after on the TradeFlow competition. So this is day 7 of the TradeFlow competition, and for me this is quite a hectic day, especially after the 3 consecutive, let's say, losses that I took on the Monday. If you haven't seen that video, please make sure to watch that. You can see me pretty much showcase exactly where I went wrong, which were all these small retracements that I tried to catch this knife in that sense. But eventually the next day I pretty much made it all back, got myself back to break even. So I shot each of these bullets at 10%, which gave me negative 30, which wasn't so nice, and then I spiraled out just a tad. But eventually I managed to kind of scalp a couple of movements here, and today I'm going to be going over exactly how I did that, and also kind of the flaws that I did, my understanding, my logic, so you guys can replicate a couple of the tools that I use in my execution time frame, and also kind of not do a couple of things that I did here to make sure that your execution is a little bit more spotless, a little cleaner than what I did that day. Eventually I was also very much in this state of shit, I need to make it back, and sure, fortunately it panned out, but there were a couple of steps that you can do a lot better than I did that day. So I'll be talking about that in this video as well, and I'll be showcasing you exactly the positions that I took here, where I played them out, and exactly how I played them out, closing them quite rigorously and aggressively as well. And I'll be going over pretty much just the position that was clean, that I didn't take on the challenge, but that I did take on personal accounts that day. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a drink. We're gonna go over a couple of things here. Cool. So overall, kind of off the backbone of this Monday, right, we've got this very deep expansion to the downside and this entire retracement pretty much in all of New York, right? This is kind of atypical. We don't see this often, especially with such a whiplash to the downside, aggressive candle to the downside, printing that low of the day very, very far away from Asia. And then New York just literally filling that entire candle straight up, which we don't see often. That kind of means one of two things. You can already guess, on your daily you don't have anything, right, in terms of an open imbalance, in terms of an order block. You pretty much, you went from this open, right, that you see here, top left, you go into pretty much this open right here, which isn't that much of a expansion on your weekly profile. You're not really moving anywhere in terms of difference in price. We haven't even changed on this the first decimal point after the 1, so very, very insignificant. Interesting day, just a V shape in that sense, and what you then expect is therefore some sort of BPR or imbalances to be formed. But even if you go into like H1, you can see that although that was there, it didn't hold much weight, right? It was definitely something to take into consideration, but it wasn't all too relevant in my opinion. So we started off that London session, with the ideology that we wanted to sweep Asia range high, that buy sell liquidity, kind of get into that window of opportunity right here. Let's label that like X, and then kind of hit and target those weak lows, those lows that we printed on Monday. The problem is that didn't happen. So what I'm going to be showcasing you guys is a little bit of a tool that you can use in your arsenal to help you identify when you can catch continuation moves, right? The idea behind this thesis to catch something like this was mainly because we printed this high during the late PM session of Monday, and we just consolidated. We had this dead time after 14 onwards, and it was just very stagnant. So my thesis for that day, my hypo, was pretty much that we would get something along these lines and be able to shoot full bullets after that sweep, after that run of buy side liquidity, because we also had lots of low resistance liquidity being left behind here. So yeah, those things were very, very interesting. We didn't get that, so you had to adapt very, very quickly. Now, in this distance, and this is kind of the mistake that a couple of you guys might be making, is trying to chase this move a little bit too quickly, right? Because this could still be your protraction. And then if you're going short here off of this M15 or this M15, there is still lots of odds that this happens, because that's kind of your standard bullish play. If you've got like an H1 array here that you're waiting for price to come into that and then showcase bullish signs, bullish signatures to target buy side liquidity. So you need patience. If you're not getting your main plan, which is to go from that playbook, remember the playbook that we're doing in the sequence, which is going from pretty much levels in this case to levels, which isn't nice. So that's the worst of the worst, but you need to get levels. You can't just do M15 arrays into levels. That's not how it works, especially if they're still in between the high and the low of Asia, right? Then make your life easy by adding standard deviations. Standard deviations, it's not rocket science. It might sound very complicated, but truly it's not. You can see where we started to get involved. Standard deviations, in this case, all we had to do was draw a rectangle or a square. In this case, it looks quite square. From that high to this low, and you will get your standard deviation, +1 standard deviation, -1 standard deviation. Now what we're looking for is a body close under the direction that we are trading. So obviously we're not going to get a POI in our +1 standard deviation, because that was the main plan for the morning, right? We're looking for that protraction against our anticipated direction. We don't get that. So what we're looking for is a body close below our in the direction that we're trading. So we want our draw on liquidity sell side. We want that to occur. We see a body close, and that is when we start to look for confirmations. Now, we had a very, very clear goal, in my opinion. We had a very, very clear order block, fractal order block that gets respected right here, just doesn't hit mean threshold, and boom, this is where I started to look into aggressive shorts. Okay, M15 is there. Here we see continuation play. So we have bearish arrays being created, bearish arrays being respected, confirmed by breaking lows and creating new bearish arrays. And this was the move that I traded. Very, very small, but I went off beat, and I will show you exactly how. So M5 is like this, and you can see that after we had this move, this was your M15 imbalance, right? And you can fine tune that, refine that into M5. And just like that, you've got your M5. And you can see that all of these areas allowed you to go short. So you have midpoint, midpoint holding, and this acts as your shift right here. And literally, I'm telling you, really wasn't that difficult. I entered off of numerous shifts because we had divergence here. This one, so I'll show you guys the position, which was right here, above this area. And then we had another one on the pullback right here, which was super aggressive. Going for local lows, eventually didn't get that, right? Which is very, very unfortunate, but managing to close pretty much manually, which was very, very nice. And off of the original position, which was just your M15 imbalance, right? This was the play. This was the leg, pretty much going from this low that you guys have also seen on my stories with the screenshots, getting pretty much the losses back from yesterday. Very aggressive, not really orthodox, not my proudest moments in that case. You can see this M15 stack in this M5 stack was there, but it did what it had to do. Manual closing at that level was very, very nice. Why? Because I was break even again. I was floating break even, shot these with pretty much 10% again, and recouping the losses that I did the day before. Now let's talk a little bit about the cleaner position that there was, which was pretty much just your standard shift on M15, M5, right? You can see already, if we go back to M15, that this was a little bit higher up off of just this order block, mean threshold of that order block, invalidation point super clear, right? You can see that on my crosshair, right? And then if we go into M5, you can see that it was more of just a shift entry. So you have your LQG right here, not confirmed though, which is unfortunate, right? If you know why, then you should be able to see why this wasn't confirmed, because it doesn't leave behind any imbalances, right? So that's unfortunate, but it is your textbook shift as such. And I know there were a couple guys that played that. I personally didn't play it on the competition account because I just recouped my losses in that sense. But yeah, this did damage. This did a very, very nice run as such, above this high, in my opinion, where you got that fractal order block. So right there, you can even wrap that up, and then just to the lows that you wanted to target. And then you get a position like this, which is very, very nice to see. I know other guys, they traded off of this one right here, which was very, very clean as well. I personally just played this one. Invalidation point was clear for me. It was an 11 pip stop as such, and then wrapping it to the lows to pretty much end up that day. Scale-ins were present as well on continuations here. Way too aggressive in my opinion. I didn't see anything. You also had one more here, not my cup of tea. I did my fumbles and aggressive stuff here on the first leg, and then there were guys that just played the second one a lot cleaner, with potentially full TP at the lows that we printed in just the actual New York opening, because this was obviously getting late into the day, late into the session. But there were also guys that just played it off of this, right? Just right there, pretty much same SL, or even this SL. I personally didn't see that, but same one here, and play it to the local lows as well of this session. Either way, this move was a lot cleaner, aggressive, right? You're on M5, you need to do a lot more work. You don't have higher time frame backing with an H1, H4, so you need to be a lot more spot on, a lot tighter with your management. So I hope that helps, guys. I hope that you guys got a little bit of insight of the mess that I got myself involved in. This is not something that I advocate to you guys. This is just me showcasing you guys what I took on the competition, how, you know, I'm also just human. I'm fiending over trades. I'm being aggressive. I'm trying to enter off of every array that there is, managing really, really aggressively, because you're shooting with such high risk. This is not how I want you guys to trade on private capital. And that's why I also want to show you guys what the better options were. You know, better stop losses, cleaner invalidation, what the targets could have been for that, and focus more on those setups, and see, you know, where they differ with what I take on the competition. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.